Yeah, my name is Peter Schrammer. I'm the Senior Solution Architect for Horizon Air and in EMEA, and my colleague Sebastian Brandt is a Senior Engineer in the ESC area in EMEA.
Right.
And we have the pleasure to present to you today Horizon Air and Horizon Hybrid as our cloud offering, desktop as a service offering. And we don't want to bore you to death with PowerPoint. We will have a demonstration. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask at any time or after the session. The agenda is very simple. We talk about the Horizon Air service, Horizon Air cloud hosted architecture, hybrid mode. If you heard about hybrid mode.
Or formerly ENSO, we call it ENSO.
Yeah. I thought it's a car scheme for VMware employees. I was very disappointed that that wasn't the case. But anyway. And then we talk about the benefits, key features, and then we will have a demo. So yeah, let's get started.
So that's our Horizon Air family. Yeah, we have desktops as a service if you want. So that means you rent a desktop at our data centers. You get a dedicated infrastructure for you, where your desktops are running. You can have it as a disaster recovery service. You can have it in hybrid mode, where we only have a control plane and all the desktops on premise at your site, all the workloads, and also we have applications as a service, so remote desktop session hosts. What's really important is if you have the desktops as a service or applications as a service, is that we are or provided by us are the facilities, the underlying software, the hypervisors, the brokers, and so on, the hardware and the support for the underlying software. So here we have the guards, guns and gates and everything, so we have high secure data center. And the customers, you are responsible for the desktop management, for your desktops, for software installations, image creation, backup and everything. So all the desktop stuff belongs to you, all your software and so on, and also your licenses. But we are really responsible for everything underlying it.
So the whole skill set of network infrastructure, storage design and all that is taken here by VMware, and we provide you a desktop as a service with the IOPS, the memory and CPU that you order, and you don't have to take care of the underlying infrastructure. Because VDI sometimes is complicated, so you need a lot of skill set, and especially smaller companies don't necessarily have that. But also bigger companies are not always up to the point, and the benefit is really that you don't have any capital expenditures. So you don't have to invest $500,000 to get the VDI platform in and then start to doing an onboarding. You can start straight away and scale up and down much easier in terms of, and you don't have any capital expenditures upfront, because you just pay for the desktop that you consume for the period of time that you consume it. And that makes it much more simple,
Do you have already customers on it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. The question was if we already have customers on it, and
that's not the question. I only wanted to know it.
No, it was a question.
But the real question is, okay, what happens if customer calls and says, it's not working, performance is not good?
We have an operational team.
Is it software? How you find out is it his software which runs on it, or it's the infrastructure which is not?
We monitor obviously the infrastructure, and we know what is running on the infrastructure, but we don't have access to the desktop. So what in a troubleshooting scenario, we would basically assess what is the customer doing, and we recommend that the customer starts with a gold build or a gold pattern that we already highly optimized, and then he installs his application instead of doing a P2V of a laptop, Dell laptop, and upload that as a VDI image, because that's mainly the bad thing that happens in some VDI environments, that you just take an image of a Dell laptop and use that in VDI. That's not what we do. But we ensure that the customer has first of all dedicated infrastructure, so he's only affecting himself if he does something stupid, which can always happen. But that is something that we do with the customer during the onboarding process. We go through the details in terms of, what application are you running, how often do they call back to the backend infrastructure, what bandwidth you need. That's all part of the onboarding service.
So how do you deal with latency? So what you're doing now is moving the desktops, but their backend infrastructure is still on the customer's premise.
We'll go.
Okay.
We come to that.
We come to that. Yeah.
So if you have also then a few of the endpoints, so it's not only the backend systems which could be cause bottlenecks or delays, it also on the customer side itself is the network and special requirements to use that service.
Yeah, we have some requirements. Yeah, we come later to that. How we connect the customer backend to our infrastructure.
Excuse me, other question. And do you have any solution for master templates, master image management? Because I've tried your product and basically they gave me two desktops. But I would like to know if you have any master template. I mean, if
we have a master template. Yeah.
Because you guys always repeat the question for the people.
Yeah. The question was if we have a master template. Yeah, we have master templates which are highly optimized. Yeah, with our Fling, the OS optimization tool. Yeah, and then you get that master image, and then you install your software. And how you install it via CCM, Matrix, whatever, it doesn't matter.
And then if I update my software, can I redeploy my image? I mean, my desktop?
Yeah.
Also.
Basically, there are two options. You can either use an optimized image that we have. If you already have an optimized image from an on-prem VDI, we can upload that as well, and then you can consume that as well. But we recommend customers, they don't have experience with VDI, they should start with our optimized image and just install the software, because we know that our images work. And we have customers, they upload an image, as I said, a P2V from a Dell laptop, and it's 120 gig in size, and they wonder why it doesn't perform.
So as a customer, we have like a self-service control panel where we can use like Composer or something similar.
Yeah. No? Yeah. The question was if the customers or the users, or if the image can be redeployed via Composer and link clones. Yeah, we have that. You can make link clones, and you can have non-persistent desktops. So every time the user logs off, the desktop will be destroyed, and a new desktop will be created if the user logs in again.
But we go into that.
Yeah, we go into that. Or you can have persistent desktops, of course. So here are our multiple data centers. Yeah, you see we have, and in a few weeks, I think there will be much more.
Yeah,
much more green points.
That's the status at the moment. So multiple data centers, and depending on where you want to have the workload, you can have the workloads in 2 data centers or 3 data centers, depending on where you sit. And we would choose that to accommodate the latency that you have to your backend infrastructure. So if your data center sits in Frankfurt, we would recommend to have the desktops there, but you can also have them in Singapore or wherever you want to have them. And we then need to discuss and accommodate what's the latency, what backend infrastructure services you need to connect to. But that's a normal engagement in a onboarding process that we discuss with the customer to give him guidance on where to place it best to get the best user experience and performance.
Yeah. So our key use cases, you know that is bring your own devices, mergers, acquisitions, and so on. We have many customers who do merger and acquisitions who need fast 500,000 or more desktops, and then we can provide them in the Horizon Air. So
functionalities that you get. So as Sebastian already said, we have 24/7 support on the backend infrastructure. We have an operational team that runs 5 days a week at the moment. We will change that in September to 24/7, 365 around the globe. So you have always someone to call if you have a problem, and the operations team can help and support you. We also provide, admin training on the platform, on the Astro interface itself. You need a corporate network connection, so either MPLS or VPN, depending on the size. You would probably choose, for a bigger environment, you would choose MPLS. But for smaller environments, up to 500 desktops, you can certainly use also a VPN connection. We have REST API access, so you can automate the hell out of it, I try to say, because you can really automate from desktop provisioning over reporting. It's highly optimized, and historically it comes from the desktop platform that we acquired a couple of years ago, and that was the pure focus on Desktop was really to have a highly optimized VDI infrastructure with all the processes automated in the backend. And that's really the platform where it sits on.
Yeah.
And
if you, I'm sorry.
and then the gold pattern, to come back to your question in terms of, so we provide you 10 gold patterns, so you get a Windows 7, you get a Windows 8.1, you get a Windows 10, 2008 and 2012 RDSH hosts. Those images are highly optimized and you can start with them, or if you already have an image, you can upload that and then start with that image to deploy your desktops.
And these images we provide
Different desktop models.
We have different desktop models with different t-shirt sizes, yeah. And you see from 1 vCPU up to 8 vCPUs.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
So
we have.
you have to see that as a see it from a side as a telecommunication provider. You buy a data plan, you buy an SMS plan, and that's basically your data and SMS plan that you consume then. And that's your consumption, that's your size of the plan that you buy, and then you consume that by multiplying that with the amount of desktops that you require.
With your hosted app server on the end,
Yeah.
is there a recommendation to the customer on how many users would get onto that server?
No,
Or is it
depends on you.
Yeah,
if you like you know, if you only publish Notepad, I think you can have 1,000 users.
It is definitely something that we work with the customer. We offer also an assessment service in combination with Lakeside, assessment.vmware.com, so you can use that for 90 days to assess your infrastructure and get those information in terms of what the consumption of the application, memory, CPU, how chatty they are, all that, to understand what density you can have on RDSH, but in general we use log and BSI figures that are well known in terms of what you normally can have in terms of density on, but it's on a per application basis.
Excuse me, and your platform is based in Desktop, right?
Yeah, the underlying is Desktop, the broker's Desktop, yeah.
And then VMware has as well the Horizon View. So the same functionalities that you have in Horizon View is the same. I mean, are totally different platforms, right?
Yeah. The question was, we have Horizon View as a platform and we have the Desktop platform. Yeah. It's different platforms at the moment. Yeah, that's right. The different brokers. Yeah. So Horizon View is for on-premise, and the Desktop platform is for desktop as a service, which is in our data centers, which is for hybrid mode. Yeah, and also if you are a provider. Yeah, if you want to have tenants, you can also have the desktop platform.
But from a functionality perspective, we use the same agent. So we use PC over IP with the Horizon View client. We use Glass protocol, and we have also the access point. The only difference is really the connection broker and the underlying infrastructure. But we go into that in a second to show you how the infrastructure. Yeah. So in general, the service is to complete the service. So you would use your own Microsoft licensing. Yeah, we can provide you a Windows 10 desktop that you can use as a shared desktop because you get dedicated storage, memory and compute. So we are able to use your infrastructure, it's dedicated infrastructure for each tenant, for each customer basically, and that gives you the ability to use your existing licensing. You need obviously network services, so we plug our data center extension, the Tenant appliance, into your Active Directory, into your DHCP DNS. So it's basically an extension of your data center, but it doesn't physically sit in your data center. It's an extension, but it is accessible from your side. It's controlled by your side with your policies, with your security. It just is a virtual data center. I always describe it like, if you look at a building, we plug an overseas container in the first floor. All the plumbing, all the electricity comes out of your building. You can only access it from your building, but it actually doesn't sit on your premises. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah.
And then identity management, Active Directory, two-factor authentication, we support all that. As well as third-party products. So if you have already a license agreement with the customer, you can use those existing licenses, install the software on the desktop or the published application, remote desktop host. And then obviously additional file services. We provide a utility server inside the tenant, which you can use for DHCP, DNS, read-only domain controller if need a much more responding, depending on latency latency. You can also utilize it as a file server. And important is you get UEM for free. So if you purchase Horizon Air, you get UEM as a user environment management functionality for free, and you can use that and accommodate the profiles on that file share with global replication into different data centers and all that.
You get also at volumes.
And you can also have volumes, yeah.
So that the architecture, I think Peter,
architecture is very simple. So it comes really down to the point to have the infrastructure completely separated in terms of consumption and management. So, and that's basically really the Desktop platform. So you have the Horizon Air service provider instance where you have the service provider network, and we have our own network services, AD, DNS, service provider appliance and resource managers. That's basically a multi-cluster, multi-data center cluster. We use the vCloud Air APIs to communicate either with the dedicated storage infrastructure that the customer has, and the blue and the green box is basically the custom environment that sits on dedicated hardware, and it's completely separate. The only connection is the backbone network. It's a non-routable network, and that's where the tenant appliance and the service provider appliance and the resource manager communicate to see, okay, you have an allocation of, let's say, 500 desktops, and the resource manager and the tenant appliance reports that back to the resource manager on the service provider side, and then we know, okay, what's your consumption in terms of desktops you have left.
What's really important is,
and that's the communication that happens.
We are not able to do anything
to
here.
access that.
Yeah, we are not able to access that. We don't see your desktops, your what the people are doing, and so on. Yeah.
So if you look at the Tenant B, that's probably a better reflection of the integration. You can also have the option in Tenant A where you have an Active Directory inside our tenant. That's completely separate from your AD. But in most of the cases, you would integrate your Active Directory, your DHCP via VPN or MPLS. And so you use all your security measures, your group policies, anything that you have in your Active Directory is applied to those desktops as well. And you can only access it from your premises. There is an option that you can also open it up to internet, but you control the security measures around, like RSA, Active Directory. It's your Active Directory as an extension, so we can't access that, and the customer is fully under control of the desktops. Yeah?
So, and what's really important is we are global, so we have multiple data centers, as we showed before, and we can control that via one control plane.
You have one unified messaging console where you basically administer your infrastructure, and if you have like multiple data centers, you have one pane of glass where you log on, you select the data center, you select the desktops you want to deploy, and then you deploy them in that particular data center.
Yeah.
Excuse me, going back to the last slide,
Yeah.
the Active Directory authentication. So I guess your platform is has an Active Directory. So
No, our platform don't have an Active Directory.
We connect to your Active Directory.
Okay.
So during the onboarding process, we have a session with the customer. The customer needs to provide us a domain bind and a domain join account.
okay.
And during the onboarding process, we have a WebEx with the customer where the customer puts those information into the tenant appliance to connect the tenant appliance with his Active Directory. And from that point on, we don't have any access anymore. So
Okay,
if he loses his password, we can't help him. We can redeploy a new tenant infrastructure, but we can't give him access.
So we don't have to create any trust relationship with your computer.
No,
There is nothing.
because it is, so what happens is the tenant appliance, those tenant appliances are joined into your Active Directory.
We can-
potentially like
Can we do a little bit later?
Sure.
We explain it to you deeper, yeah? So, so that's typical deployment model, yeah? Like we said, here are your tenant, and that's your corporate network, and you have an MPLS, VPN, yeah, to the tenant, to your tenant, and all the services like the DNS, DHCP, AD, and so on will be consumed from your tenant. And end users can connect also via the MPLS or VPN connection, such as VPN, or over the internet, yeah. via our
And
access
then
points.
you have the option with our service provider platform on the vCloud Air side. You can have heavier workloads. So let's say you have an Oracle database that you need as a backend, and your latency in your data center is too high, so you want to have a mirror of that in vCloud Air. You would host it here, and then we provide a 1 gig VPN from vCloud Air to the tenant appliance, so you can use that, and that sits usually in the same data center, so you avoid all the latency that you have maybe in your data center that sits in the Middle East or wherever that will sit. So you can have heavier workloads in here as co-location in vCloud Air, or if it is a smaller workload like a file service, DHCP, DNS, that could run on our utility server that we provide as part of the service.
So let's go to the hybrid mode. Yeah, the hybrid mode means that we have a control plane in the cloud. And
You heard about hybrid mode.
Yeah.
Project Enso?
So,
Really? Are you dead?
so the thing is, so we have a control plane. Yeah, all the management stuff is done in the cloud, and all the workers are on premise on hyperconverged infrastructure. Yeah, the good thing here is, like I said, management is done from the cloud, and you don't have to worry about updates of the desktop platform and so on. We will do everything, yeah, but you are responsible for the facilities now, for the hardware, because the hardware belongs to you. Yeah, you buy VX Rails or vSAN Ready Nodes or whatever, yeah, so you are responsible for the hardware and the facilities, but we still are responsible for our DAS software.
What happens is the on-prem appliance that you buy, it's a Evo Rail or Evo Rack. You place that in your data center, you cable it, you connect it into your rack, and then you connect it to our control plane where you manage it from. And we take care of all the updates, we download the updates, we create the initial configuration. So the only thing you need to do is to rack and stack it, and the rest is done via the cloud control plane. It is always up to date. And you connect to the cloud control plane to manage the infrastructure in terms of how many desktops you want in different desktop pools and all that. And with hybrid mode, we introduced also the integration of app volumes and UEM inside the platform. So you capture the applications, you upload the applications into the appliance, and then you can assign those app stacks to your desktops on-prem.
Yeah, and that makes it faster, yeah, and simpler. So
And it's a very simple platform, because you get one appliance, you rack that into your data center, and you connect it back to the cloud control plane, and from there you manage it. You don't have to have consistent connections, so even if you lose the connection to the cloud control plane, the users can still access it and can still consume the desktop. You obviously can't manage the desktop at that point, because you can't create new pools and stuff, but in general you can still, it doesn't disrupt your service if you lose the connection to the cloud control plane.
So here are some more features we have.
So it's highly optimized hardware that we use. We use a cloud control plane as said, and then you have the optimization in rapid image deployment, and you maybe heard about the next generation view composer. Instant clone technology. So we are using VM fork technology to fork a parent of an existing machine, and then run that machine in a memory state and fork desktops from that. That means you can, compose desktops, hundreds of desktops in minutes instead of hours.
We will show it in the live demo, yeah. So we have to hurry a little bit.
So the true architecture looks like you use the hyperconverged infrastructure, and at the moment we have support for Dell. The main reason for that is we work very in an early stage with Dell to get the platform up and running, but we will broaden the functionalities to different vendors like EMC, like Supermicro, HP. So it's basically just the compute that you need, and you need the bootstrap that runs on that infrastructure, and then you can basically run it everywhere. We use the just-in-time desktop, the new generation view composer. We use Blast if you want. We have the smart policies from UEM to control the desktop, And then you have basically anything that you need from app management or user environment management, image management, analytics, and infrastructure updates. It's all in that service node. And that service node is basically what you put on. So you have the hyperconverged infrastructure. Yeah, put it, extend it. Then you have the vCenter infrastructure that sits on top of that. And then you have basically different connection broker services that run inside the tenant appliance. The client connector, the desktop APIs, the XML broker, the desktop manager, and our volumes in UEM. That sits all in that box. And that is basically where you then carve out, next please. You have your Horizon Air Node Manager and the Resource Manager, and then you compose the desktops out of that.
So is that vCenter connect to the customer's existing VMware environment, or is this
No, it's a separate.
totally separate?
Totally separate. Yeah. The question was if the vCenter is if the customer's vCenter, which is already in place. No, it's totally separated infrastructure, totally separated
It
boxes.
all runs on the hyperconverged infrastructure.
And all these things here on the left, we are responsible for. We will update and so on, so you don't have to worry about.
And it's all redundant. So
Yeah,
you
it's
have
all-
redundancy on the tenant appliances, on the app volume managers, on UEM. So we can update it automatically in the backend, and we don't have any disruption from the user side because there's always one tenant appliance up while you update the second one, and it's fully automated, and we do that with Desktop over years. So the focus on the Desktop platform was to have it highly available and easy to manage, and that's basically really
What you can do here is you buy a vSAN Ready Node or VxRail, yeah, and you bring it to your branch where you want to have that, put it on, and everything is working.
Okay.
So
the cloud control plane, so what you just saw was the Horizon Air Node. So that's your desktop facility that you have in terms of that appliance. And then you basically have a unified console where you connect to, you have the logon, you have the XMP service, the inventory and the connector to that infrastructure that sits in your data center. And from that cloud control plane you manage the entire infrastructure. We know what node functionalities, what capabilities that node has in terms of compute, and then you can consume the desktop and organize and manage that.
and now it's your turn.
Good. So if you already saw, for example, app volumes as a single appliance, app volumes free. Anyone saw app volumes free? No? Okay. So the Astro interface that we provide is the new functionality in terms of management. So you will see that all the products will have that interface to manage all the EUC products. They will all be aligned into that and will be managed out of that console.
So well, that means that console, yeah, will be our main console also for view. Yeah, it will take a few months and so on in quarters. Yeah, but that will be our main console.
So it is it's a very simple web-based HTML5 based console, and it has a very AirWatchy feel. If you remember the AirWatch console, different color scheme, but very similar to that. And it's very simple. So you have the monitoring piece where you have your activity logs, where you see what the user did, what the administrator did. Then you have basically your reports for the different user mappings on the desktops that you have, desktop mappings to a particular pool. And then you basically have the assignments, and the assignments consist of multiple things. So you can have a published desktop, you can have a native desktop as a VDI desktop on Windows 8, Windows 10 or Windows 7, and then you have application entitlements and user environment configuration. So as you can see, I have native application, so that's an application, an app volume app stack that I assign to a desktop, but I can also have a dedicated desktop, floated desktop, or a customization in terms of a user environment management configuration that I have in here.
So floating desktop means user logs off.
Non-persistent.
Non-persistent, yeah. Everything is destroyed. And a dedicated desktop means that we will attach a writable volume from your volumes, and all those things the user installs will be there.
So the benefit is really to have a non-persistent desktop but give the user a persistent desktop field. So you use the commercials over non-persistent because it's much cheaper to have a non-persistent, because your concurrency rate is the consumption that you need. But if you have 2,000 users, they are not always connected at the same time. And if you can bring up a desktop in less than 10 seconds, then it's no longer relevant to have a persistent desktop, because from an economical perspective, it's easier to have a non-persistent desktop, but the user doesn't see any difference because he gets his application, his user configuration, user environment management, and therefore he's actually working on a persistent desktop, even if it's in the backend, not a persistent desktop. And here you have the applications in, so what basically happens is you create an application stack and you upload that into the appliance. It shows up in here, and then I can basically do an entitlement. And we have also the customization in here, which is basically user environment management. So drive mappings, any functionality that you use in UEM can be assigned in here. And then you basically have your images where you create the different gold pattern or images, either Windows 7, Windows 10, 2008, R2, 2012, whatever you want. And in the settings configuration, you have basically general settings, Active Directory, so it's connected to your Active Directory, same concept. You control all the desktops, and then you have roles and permissions. So you can give different levels of admin rights to different people in your organization to manage it. You have different locations, and the locations basically is the app volume manager that you connect to your infrastructure. You have a dedicated vCenter in here, and you have a file share where you basically place your app stacks, and the XMP service then sucks that into the appliance and creates the desktop application inside the tenant.
That are all what Peter explained here as an volume 3 function.
Yeah. And then obviously you can see your infrastructure in terms of the node, what's the primary address and all that. And then also two-factor authentication and utility servers. So if you have, for example, a file service that you use, it shows up in here. You have all your virtual machines that reflect basically your gold image where you can update and then convert that back. And that gives you the control over those functionalities as well. So let me go in and create an assignment. So you have basically three options. You can create an application, which is basically an application abstract that is already uploaded, and you assign it to a user. As soon as the user logs on, he gets that application assigned to his desktop. You can create desktops, floating or dedicated desktops. And then you can also upload the customization. Customization with UEM is at the moment not created in the Astro interface. You create it with the UEM console, and then you connect it back to the infrastructure to consume it. Where's my mouse gone? So, yeah, I choose a standard desktop. Give that an assignment name. And you can see I have, where's my mouse? So let's create 20 desktops. Let's make it 10.
We had a training, yeah, and we created 599 desktops.
It took 20 minutes to create 500 desktops, but the appliance was not
it was a demo
stated,
appliance.
was not stated to do that. So, and then you basically select your image. So I have basically two different images here. I select just an image. I assign my user group to it. And then you get your summary, and then you will click on submit. If I can find the button.
So,
So now the desktop assignment runs off. So if I go now into the monitoring piece, you can actually see in the activity log that I expand a desktop. Yeah, and unfortunately I can't show you the backend infrastructure because I don't have access to that. What happens is from that gold build we create a parent, and then we clone that parent in memory, and from that on we compose from that desktop a new desktop model. And you will see that that will not take long to create those 10 desktops if it works. Yeah. Yeah, you see, I can see my mouse there but not here, which makes it a little bit difficult to maneuver. So at the moment he's cloning the desktop. That's probably the longest time it takes to create that parent. And if that parent is created, then he basically clones them in memory. And he point basically from the virtual machine, from the parent, we point back to the original parent and clone that in memory. So only the subset of the machine that needs to runs in memory, and any changes basically go back to the storage, but anything that runs in that parent machine is run in memory, which makes it really fast in terms of the...
And with that, we are with the linked clones. Yeah, that's like linked clones. Yeah, we call it now instant clones because of the memory. And it's also now it's up and running. We also clone the memory. Yeah, so only memory blocks which are different. Yeah, all reads come from the memory, from the original memory, and only the memory blocks which are different or which user changed, yeah, or program changed, will be written back to the memory of the system, yeah, like linked clones or...
So you can see he already created the 10 desktops, and now he's basically bringing up the desktops so they will show up in here. And that's really, create 10 desktops in less than 5 minutes, I would say, is a fair amount of time to calculate. Hopefully we see that comes in.
Thing is, that's also our demo hardware, which sits in our data center in Boston. So if we have some videos on YouTube, yeah, with the instant clones, and you see we can clone our 10 desktops in seconds. Yeah.
So let me...
That takes a little bit here, a little bit longer, because the appliances also have to check if the desktops are there, that users are assigned, and so on. And that instant clone mechanism is also available for, not available at the moment, but we showed it also at Synergy for Xen Desktop.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you have to buy the tenant appliance yourself?
No.
So you buy the hyper-converged infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and that already has the bootstrap and the Tenant appliance pre-configured in. You connect it in the initial phase, you connect it to your Active Directory, to our control plane, it comes up and then it's ready.
Yeah.
So there is no configuration that you need to do. You just drag it, stack it, connect it to power and network, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously we need, IP addresses for the Tenant appliances, for the access points, or that. But that is something that we will ask you during an ordering process. So you need to provide us an IP range for the service network, for the desktop network, and it's all pre-configured on the appliance. You rack it, you boot it up, it connects, and then you can start using it.
So how does the customer scale before they buy the hyper-converged appliance? So they run this lakeside assessment for 30 days beforehand?
Yeah.
So you guys provide that
For free.
to the customer for free?
Yeah.
Okay.
The assessment.vmware.com, you can also do it now. Everybody can do it for free.
And the assessment in general is for free for 90 days. There's no limitation on the amount of desktops you put in. So if you need to do an assessment, I highly recommend to go to assessment.vmware.com, register there, and then you get a pre-configured a pre-configured Lakeside package that you install on your agent or roll it out unattended, and then you get the reporting in and you get the reports and all the stats that you require for a really good assessment in terms of, you get really large reports in terms of, you know, application consumption, websites are used, do they use cloud storage, all that kind of stuff goes in there. So it's really highly recommended to do that. And it's a free service, so why not using it? And most of you are probably consulting, so it's a great way to get, you know, additional information that helps you to scale up an on-prem or an Horizon Air.
Do you see the desktops?
So that was basically my desktop creation. And if you look into the activity log, you can see it started at 10:39, yeah, and it finished at 10:45. 10 desktops. Yeah. So it's really.
And if you have more, it's faster.
And the point is, really the initial to create the parent is the process that takes the longest because you need to clone it. From that I can now extend it to another 20 in less than a couple of minutes because the parent is already there, so you fork from that parent, and that means it's really easy to do that in a very quick fashion.
Yeah.
So does the software stop you doing something stupid like trying to spin up 1,000 desktops?
Yeah, because
how's it done?
you probably didn't notice that, but if I go into my assignment and create a desktop, it tells me down here the capacity that I have. So I have only 324. I can't overcommit because that's the appliance that can cope with. So even if you create 500, you will not create your 500 desktops. Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Okay.
If you have any questions, we are here, so ask. We can,
Yeah.
you know, only also show you much more things. And regarding Lakeside, Benny can tell you. Benny, regarding Lakeside and the assessment of VMware.com, Benny can tell you more. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.